We are now joined by Vice President Joe Biden. He is in Baghdad this morning for the changeover ceremony. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Vice President. In his address last night, President Obama called this an age without surrender ceremonies. But is there no surrender ceremony in this case because this is a war that has not been won, or did the United States achieve victory in Iraq?
Well, look, George, what this is about a change of command and a change of mission. We are moving from having to be the aggressive force out there, the combat force. We're leaving behind 50,000 people, as you point out, to assist and train the Iraqis. I might point out the Iraqis are already been tested. They have, in fact, among them, special forces as good as any in the world. They have been basically doing the main responsibility of leading this effort for the last 4 months. We've withdrawn 100,000 troops, George, roughly 100,000. But we are also now ramping up our civilian and diplomatic effort here in this country. And so it's not like we're walking away. And I'd like to point out one other thing. Every single poll shows 2/3 of the Iraqi people want us to keep George Bush's commitment that we leave totally in terms of combat troops by the end of next year.
But that's the paradox, isn't it, Mr. Vice President? Because they want the United States to leave. That is clear, as you point out. But as Dan Harris reported, there's also a lot of worry that if the United States leaves, the violence is going to spike. The president reiterated that commitment last night. All U.S. troops home by the end of next year. Is that rock solid, even if the violence spikes and Iraq starts to spiral downward again?
We have a written agreement with the Iraqi government signed by George W. Bush, binding President Barack Obama to withdraw all troops by the end of next year. Now, in the process of that, we're not leaving Iraq. We still have 50,000 troops in place who can shoot straight, who are totally capable of combat if that became necessary in the interim. But we have faith that the Iraqi troops that our sacrifices have allowed to be trained are in fact ready and will be increasingly capable of providing total security for this country by the end of next year.
The president also said in his speech last night that he would begin, make no mistake, he said, begin the transition out of Afghanistan next July. That drew some criticism from your former Senate colleague, John McCain. Take a listen.
The fact that we are telling these people there, our friends and our enemies, that we are leaving, and again, the president reinforced that ambiguity again tonight, puts young Americans in harm's way unnecessarily.
He's saying the United States hasn't learned the lessons from the surge in Iraq.
Look, I respect John, but I think John is absolutely wrong. Remember, John's the guy, George, who declared victory in Iraq in Afghanistan in 2005, number one. Number two, this is a policy agreed to by the military as well as the civilians in this government, and that military includes a Republican Secretary of the Defense who stayed over, or at least he was in a Republican administration, and General Petraeus. What we're saying is we are going to begin to transition to Afghani forces. An endless commitment is not a policy. It's critically important that the Afghanis begin to step up, and the president has provided resources in the form of roughly 100,000 American troops in Afghanistan with coalition forces to train that military, that Afghani military. And it's as much a marker for them to step up to their responsibility as it is a marker to the American people that we are going to begin to transition. Last point. That transition will be condition-based, but it will begin in the summer of next year.
Finally, sir, the economy. The president said it's his central mission responsibility last night. Republican Party Chairman Michael Steele said the president has no plan to restore the economy, and even some Democrats say most important, do no harm, and that means raising no taxes this year. Given that, are you convinced that Democrats have the votes to repeal all of the Bush tax cuts this year, and will you push for a vote before the election?
Look, our overwhelming focus is to make sure that we continue the tax cuts for the middle class and we provide additional tax cuts for small businesses that actually hire people. That's why we hope when the Congress comes back in session, the Republicans will stop filibustering the tax cut for small businesses and incentives for small business. There's a bill in the Senate that passed the House. Let's get about the business of creating more jobs. Let's get about the business of incentivizing small businesses to go out and hire, giving them more disposable income to expand. That's our focus, and we hope the Republicans will begin to join us. You know, Pete Sessions, the congressman who is in charge of the re-election efforts in the House, said that when we take control, if they take control, we're going to go back to the same exact agenda we had before. That's the agenda that drove us into a deep recession. That is no answer. The answer is to do what we've done on Iraq, begin to cooperate and provide for the incentives for small businesses, cut taxes for the middle class, and continue to try to stimulate the economy.
Mr. Vice President, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much, George.